being homeless at that age was tough. It was really tough. Yeah, I was always told to just quit. But if I knew also that I quit that educational journey, that also meant my social mobility program would no longer be valid. And it was actually quite tough to sort of work back towards working class. And I know that's quite funny because usually we're trying to work out of working class than working towards it.
Raised in Walthamstow by Turkish-Kurdish immigrant parents, Mert experienced a turbulent home life and was kicked out as a teen after opening up about his identity. He faced homelessness at 17, worked multiple jobs, and was discouraged from pursuing university, but a social mobility bursary helped change his path. Now leading research and engagement at Urban Symbiotics, Mert shares how resilience, community, and hard work helped him break through class barriers, and why he's committed to giving back. Hi, right, Mert. How you doing? Good?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. So, so before we get into it, could you tell us a little bit about your role and what it is that you currently do?
Absolutely. So I'm the research and engagement lead at Urban Symbiotics. So essentially I help strategize the community engagement strategies for developers, for local authorities. So we work with public and private sectors just to ensure that urban development projects and built environment projects are integrated into their areas with the community rather than just being isolated projects, hopefully to have a more social positive impact.
Okay, cool. That sounds quite good, like giving back to community and stuff like that. So, because this series is about working class and those from low socioeconomic backgrounds, what would you say working class means to you?
I think two things combined. One is perseverance.
Yeah.
And the perseverance aspect comes from the idea that we always have these barriers, and a working class usually has a lot more, and it's not just economical either. I know the economy is defined sort of just the definition for social working class, but the social barriers, the cultural barriers, language barriers, they're all very important. Working class always pushes through day-to-day work. It's sometimes even harder to be at the same pace with everyone else. And the other thing I think is that sense of community, that whether it's working together, whether it's living together, whether it's sharing space together, it's all about community. It's all about giving back. Even if you've got not much to give, you're always giving, but you also know that you can also rely on that. You've got your neighbor to give back to you as well.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think, it's quite true. There is always this sense of community within the working class space. So yeah, that's something I've kind of noticed, and a lot of people have talked about that. Could you tell us a little bit about your background? Because I briefly touched upon it where you grew up in Walthamstow. Could you tell us a little bit about your history, really?
Absolutely. So, born and raised in Walthamstow, I've always sort of lived in East London, have a very East London identity. I take it with pride. And home life was very turbulent. Coming out with my sexuality with my family resulted in me sort of being homeless, having to go through the social care system, living in youth hostels, all the way throughout the second year of college and the start of my BA degree as well at university. And that sort of meant that I had to work all the way through full time since I was 17, just to ensure that I was my own financial backup. As I didn't have sort of the family, the parents to rely back on. And although the social system does do its job, it's not completely sort of something you can depend on. I always had to have my own back and work multiple jobs. So I was kind of doing like daytime would be for school, nighttime would be for work. And then in between that, I was trying to juggle social life and live your life as a teenager and as a young adult. But yeah, we sort of pushed through, and towards the end of university by that point, I was doing really well. I had the social burst, the social program at St. Simmons. called the overcrowded program, the bursary fulfill, and that really helped me sort of continue university. But all points throughout that, I was always discouraged from pursuing education, trying to fix your life first, go back to education later. Whereas sadly, it is a bit of a one-shot kill with education. You do sometimes have the one shot. It's hard to go back into it. As the older you get, that's little background.
Okay. Because in the intro we talk about because you were like homeless at 17 and 16, 17. So how was that for you? Like, especially coming from our working class, and then you're literally on your own, basically, aren't you?
Absolutely. No, it was one of those things where I thought the working class sort of status was the lowest that you could be. There were big sort of fell to the bottom of the barrel. And you kind of realize, although you don't always have as much as someone who's middle class or upper class, you still have the very basics in working class. And you do get really grateful for that. Being homeless at that age was tough. It was really tough. Not having the very basic things. I didn't even have a passport or a birth certificate. So I had to start from scratch. I was sort of just a number on the caseworkers. My papers, I wasn't really a name. I had to first go get my birth certificate sorted to prove that I was me. And at 16, 17, you don't know any of these things. I don't even know where to get the birth certificate from. And you're sort of left alone to figure it out. And it's a little numerous now, but it was very tough back then trying to figure most basic things out for yourself. As you usually have like an adult walking you through that, or parents specifically. But I think the biggest elements for that was sort of realizing that the working class sort of life that I lived, the job in my life, having lost all of that, it was almost impossible to get back to being sort of working class, to sort of even below that economically and socially. And it was actually quite tough to sort of work back towards working class. And I know that's quite funny, because usually we're trying to work out of working class than working towards it. But so that was a very, very eye-opening experience for me. I think it was very humbling. Definitely built a lot of gratitude for what I did have as working class. But having said that, though, I was never completely excluded. In fact, my social support and network was from working class people. So it was, although I was below working class sort of in the system, I still had the ties to working class people and communities, and they were very supportive, and they did their best as much as they could, whether it was sort of giving me an extra t-shirt or something to sort of pad on my side. Whether it was sometimes get me home cooked food, like those little things really add up. But I think the biggest thing was realizing that I had to work towards something most people try and work out of.
I suppose this kind of comes back to what you were talking about, what working class means to you, and it's that sense of community where actually this social group actually really look out for one another and really help out.
I think it's all about understanding each other's pain and being like, I've been there or been close to that before. And it was the help that I received back then that makes those massive changes, even if it's a small gesture. And then it's all about sort of giving back to the next person. You never sort of give expecting to get back from the people that you try and help out. Like, I know none of those people ever expected any sort of equal exchange once they helped me out. But I'm sure in their lifetime they had someone helping them out and not expecting that either. So it's a very nice continuation of small gestures going a long way and always continuing that.
No, that's good. So how did you manage to kind of get out of that situation? What kind of led you from homelessness to, okay, I'm actually getting somewhere here?
I think I always say that I was one of the lucky ones. And what I mean by that is, although it was tougher being 16, 17, by the law, as I was under 18, I had to get sort of social work was really given one. I had to be in the system automatically. And although I was homeless, thankfully, although it was so many occasions, it did almost come to me sleeping on the streets. there was always something in place that caused me not to, whether that was someone from the local community sort of letting me sleep in there, that whether it was the attic, spare room, or on the sofa, the living room, or it was the social care system, like being able to be in emergency housing or hospitals. Not very nice places to stay. Must admit, I would prefer the sofa in someone's living room. But at least you're protected from the dangers of the streets, from the weather. But essentially, the biggest thing that I sort of like go back to was so I forgot the question actually. What were you talking about?
Basically, how did you manage to get out of that situation?
Out of it. That's it. Yeah, very well, a little bit. So it was actually the support from the local people that helped me get out, the social system. But then ultimately, what really pushed me out of it, so once I turned 18, that support stopped. And it was almost like, okay, I'm almost back on by myself again. And I had already been doing the program at Simmons & Simmons, the Young Talent program. That was luckily something that I started when I was 13, I believe. They do a program, very intense program, at the very specific school that I went to. And it was the only one back then that they did it with. So I was quite lucky to really be on that program. And although they weren't aware of the changes in my circumstance, I had to really work harder. And for me, that was like my golden ticket. So I put all my energy into that whilst also still trying to juggle all this paperwork, trying to get my housing benefit and going to college and starting university and applying for university. I really pushed on the program and I really wanted to show them that I was appropriate to still give the bursary to. And it wasn't to do with the circumstance, but actually what I could sort of do for the program was how hard I was working trying to show that. And I was one of the two, every cohort, there's two recipients of the bursary, one female, one male. I happened to be one of the males that won. And it was, that in itself massively helped because that bursary then meant I didn't have to work every night after sort of education. I could just live my life a little bit, also relax and not worry every month about next month's rent or trying to figure out what's happening. Once I had that stable income coming in from that program, that really pushed me into sort of getting out of homelessness and working towards working class. But that was a series of like 2 years of events, really. It took quite a while, but we got there in the end.
Because in the intro, I mentioned that you were quite discouraged quite early on not to pursue education and go to university. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So it was the caseworkers actually at the time, and I know they mean well when they say this, but they are all about, and it is in their job title, to sort of fix your financial stability first. And that obviously requires me to work full time, work all the time. And I didn't want to do that. I did want to obviously get my financial stability, but I didn't want to just focus on employment. At the time, I wanted to go to university. I've always wanted to go to university, get my degree, study. That was always something I wanted to do. And I also knew from working class, that's always your ticket to get out of working class as well, usually, or at least that's what you're told. And I think very junior as a working class kid. So I was always discouraged. They were like, you need to quit college and you need to find a job. And it's like, okay, I found a job. It's at night. I don't get much rest. And I know it's not a massively well-paid job, but they wanted me to sort of do day and night, to do work really intensely so I can sort of get as much money as possible. Which is understandable. However, long-term, that didn't seem sustainable for me, or that meant that I'd be locked in a hospitality job for the rest of my life, really, without being able to get qualifications or going back to academia, getting into the creative sort of industry. And I didn't want to leave my dreams aside. I wanted to keep going into what I wanted to achieve. Although we had the massive step back of being homeless. That was never in anyone's prediction, I think. But I know they meant well. And I know that the caseworker always was looking out for me, but it was one of those things where I was constantly told to leave, and a lot of, even the college was telling me to leave, and they were like, you have to focus on yourself. There was obviously some members from the college, especially the principal, being like, stay. If you, whatever I can do to help you stay, I want to help you out. That was massive help as well for me, knowing that someone in the senior team at the college was looking out for me, and they did their best. They couldn't do too much. No one could really in those instances. It all comes from the individual. But yeah, I was always told to just quit. But if I knew also if I quit that educational journey, that also meant my
bursary,
social mobility program would no longer be valid. So I had to sort of push on that. But sadly, a lot of youth are told to leave education to focus on working fast to build up the finances. But it's a double-edged sword, that one.
Yeah, so is that kind of what kind of happens then? Is that pretty much the...
Like around me, that's what happened. Like a lot of the youth hostels, I noticed people around me who were academically talented or focused on academics were always discouraged from going to education, or education became a secondary priority. But let's face it, when you're 16, 17, that should be your main priority. I know obviously it's hard, especially when you're dealing with papers for housing benefit or whatever sort of benefit you needed at the time. It was a lot of that. It was a lot of you need to get a job first, you have to find some of that first. School comes later. You can skip 1 or 2 classes to get extra money. They sort of want you to move on so that they can get the next person in. So I understand that aspect of it. But it's also like long term, it's not sustainable, because that could just mean that I have a very fragile financial stability anyway, and then I could fall off the wagon again. So it's a tough one. It's a really tough one. Like, I completely understood where it came from, but I was very much like, no. And I don't know, I clashed a lot with everyone.
No, I can imagine, because that's the thing. As a public sector, they're trying to, they've got costs and they've got quotas and whatever, their side. So they're just trying to do this. But if you're saying, no, I'm going to do the education, they're like, oh, it's like a rock and a hard place for them, isn't it?
It is. And it's so for us. And it's about, I would always say to my caseworker, like, I completely understand you need to meet these criteria to get the next person in. I know I'm potentially taking up a space for someone else, but otherwise you're going to probably see me again in 5 years when I'm back in the situation. I'm back, and to be fair, in 5 years' time, I would probably be homeless, because I'm like on the street homeless, as I wouldn't be underage. I wouldn't be forced to have welfare. So I would kind of like, sorry, not sorry. This is, you're going to not like the next 6 months to a year, but tough. This is what I'm doing. This person's like, they can't force me.
So I suppose this, because education is now compulsory to 18, do you think this would change slightly then, or?
Absolutely. And I think, I'm hoping that has a positive effect. When I heard about this, I was very happy about it. And there are a lot of people, at least in my environments, were like, oh, but like, what if they don't want to do that? What about their choice of working first, doing internships, or going in a manual labor job? And it's like, cool, yeah, but this is, I think, more suited for people like myself back in the day who needed this in place, so that I wasn't discouraged from education, so that the caseworkers' priorities were keeping me in education, and it was their main priority, rather than me trying to work 16 hours a day every day, trying to get out of the homeless sort of the youth shelters and hostels. So yeah, I think I could have probably needed this, and I had it in my own way. I put it on myself. I was like, no, you're going to continue education no matter what.
You managed to get into university then. So tell us a little bit about from doing your university and then getting into where you are now.
Absolutely. So university was a tough one to get into. But once we got in there, I was like set on just trying to figure myself out, figure what I wanted to do. I initially worked so hard to get into the university I wanted to get into, for the specific course that I wanted. Um, and in midway through, I was like, I'm not actually enjoying this. And then so I was like, oh God, did everything I worked so hard for just not worth it? Was it like a false dream that I had as like the working class kid that was always driven to sort of always get the degree? And then just turns out that I wasn't in the right course. I started off doing product industrial design at St. Martin's, and the university was incredible. The course is incredible. I just didn't enjoy it for myself. I also did have the layer of COVID. So then I was one of those affected at university where suddenly a very creative, physical, technical degree turned into being behind a laptop and using toilet paper rolls. But try and build furniture out of it. It doesn't really work, does it? So I ended up just not liking it anymore. And so I took a year out to try and figure out what I wanted to do. And to be fair, in that time, again, I went back to the university. I was like, listen, I'm not enjoying it, but I don't want to leave. I think I'm just in the wrong course. And they were massively helpful, and they helped me move from St. Martin's to London College of Communication, which is in Everton Castle. So still UAL, just different colleges. And I studied design management there, and I finished up my degree in design management. And I was always fascinated by people and spaces. A little bit of that came out of, I must admit, being homeless. How I looked into sort of the abstract relationships between people and spaces. And in fact, I first was studying or wanted to study fine art, and that was my focus. So I'd looked into sort of doing fine art, like this abstract expressions of people and places and spaces, and the meaning of space for people. And that was very much influenced actually from being homeless. And in fact, it was my project that I did based on my experience as a homeless person. That was the portfolio that got me into St. Martin's, funny enough. So actually, that then turned into a project which got me into the university. It was kind of a full circle moment. And then from that, I knew I just kept wanting to do space and people. I always focused my projects around people and spaces. And eventually, my last year project, it was about a site in Walthamstow. I went back to the area I grew up in. Again, full circle back to Walthamstow, and I discovered the site there that was untouched for years. And I wanted to sort of get the community to understand what's happened, what they could design it for, what they could use that space for as a meanwhile use. And that then sort of pushed me into community engagement in the built environment sector, which is a very niche thing at the moment, but it is a trend sort of increasing. And that project, I was doing some case studies that came across Urban Symbiotics. So I asked if I could shadow and help them out, volunteered at one of their community engagement opportunities in South London. And I loved it. I actually loved it. And we kept in touch, and I was helping them out where I can. So I helped them out the last sort of 6 months of my final degree. So it was quite a tough period again, but nothing I'm not used to. I think all those years
Don't make it
in
easy for
college
yourself.
working multiple jobs. No, I don't. No, but all these years in college, working 2 jobs and doing full-time education paid off, because I actually could then juggle working for them a little bit, helping them out as much as I can whilst finishing my degree as well. Not that I recommend that for anyone watching, but that sort of then led me to straight away out of graduation to work with them. They were quite literally, my last class was on a Thursday or Friday, and then the Monday after I started my full-time job, which I do know, like, I was one of the lucky ones. It's not like the most common thing that happens to graduates. But what's really interesting is the common theme throughout my life, especially from being homeless to where I am now. My job still involves community spaces, vulnerable groups, working class people. So it's very much this common theme. Like, it was what got me. Obviously, I was in a situation of having to get support from community. I didn't have a space, didn't have a home. Which then that project, based on that theme, got me into university, which I continued studying about, doing my dissertation on about homelessness as well, and actually how to solve homelessness in the UK, or at least tackle it in a very efficient way. So then now working a job that again was around community, building space, placemaking, and about working with communities and not designing for them, letting them have the tools to design spaces and actually influence their built environment. But yeah, I think those common themes in my life have now influenced what I do. And also I feel like that sort of helps me understand why I'd say I'm pretty good at my job now. So I had so much experience in it.
You have to have real life
understanding.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It definitely gets rid of that barrier between like sympathy and empathy. Like I can empathize with people I speak to and engage with because I've been there, if not worse, for whatever reason, or at least I can relate to it or have something that I can talk about, and we could talk about this together and really understand what they're going through and what they experience. But yeah, the theme sort of continues. It turned out to be something that wasn't a nice thing. And then now it's more of a positive theme in my life of community spaces, homelessness, people. So yeah, like that journey was an interesting one. And always at university, I was always the overachiever as well. And I think that comes down to being working class. I think, like I said at the very beginning, you have to sometimes work harder and persevere through these barriers to be at the same pace as other people that have it a bit better off than you. So, interestingly, I was the student speaker at the graduation, at the ceremony. And I closed off the graduation ceremony, and I got to be able to thank the families that actually supported me and took care of me when I was homeless. And they also watched it back, and they had called me and messaged me in tears, being like, "Oh, you didn't have to." I was like, "No, of course, like, without your help, I wouldn't have potentially been there." And it was, a lot of my educational journey turned out to be lots of full circle moments. It was nice to be able to take something that I did not so fondly back onto and actually have a good relationship with it now.
Interestingly, you know, when you do speak to these people from the communities and stuff like that, and majority would be from like working class, did they ever get a sense of your working class roots, or because of where you are now, do you feel like you've moved on from that?
It's such a weird one. I feel like currently I'm in this weird gray area between working class and I guess lower middle class. I know there's a very hollow middle class at the moment, like the context, the social political context of the country and the world specifically. But I'm in this gray area. I'm almost a bit too lower middle class for some of my working class peers, but I'm still very working class for my middle class peers. So I'm in this weird where no one's sort of taking
sense of limbo
me on board, or sense of limbo, gray area. But working with communities, I think they know it. There's always this like invisible thread between working class people and communities, like almost this radar as well, like the social radars, like you're one of us. You're like, you can just see it and you can feel it and you understand it. But I definitely think that there's moments where they sort of get the click of like, okay, you've gone through, I've gone through.
You understand.
And there's points where they don't see it and we're having discussions. I might raise it up because sometimes that actually makes them feel a bit more comfortable to just tell me things and actually know that I will probably understand what they're talking about, or at least know how they feel towards it or how it might impact them. And it's really interesting though. It's to me, I never thought as working class being a massive identity sort of representation, in the sense of we always think about whether it's sexuality or race or gender. Those are sort of key identifiers as characters, or we always think about representation as that. But actually, in this case, me being working class is a good sense of representation for another working class person. So they feel they can tell me what they want to say, and it's a bit easier, breaks down that barrier. Yeah, it's a very interesting one. You definitely know when you meet someone where they've come from.
Yeah.
And I feel you can spot it quite easily as well.
So yeah, because of the role that you do, because it's a graduate job. Had your employers ever? Did they ever question? Oh, this guy's from working class, or was there ever that sense of, oh, this individual's from working class background? Will he be able to fit in with our company and stuff like that?
I think initially, no. Like, they were very much happy with the way I worked. It was very much, they saw that how I dealt with people. But at the same time, perhaps in the back of their minds, like consciously, they might have known. Both from working class backgrounds, I feel like, again, that invisible thread, you kind of see it. And on the first engagement I did, they did say that I was very engaged. People loved talking to me. Who were very good at connecting with people. And I feel like through that, you kind of know, but it was never explicitly said until after I was hired. But I could definitely see there was like a hat, like once I mentioned it directly. Like, we knew it. But it's not, I guess it's just never the first question you ask someone, I guess. That doesn't matter too much in the grand scheme of things, but as long as you can work where you work and be a hard worker. But I think it definitely does show in some qualities. And for them, I think they probably spotted it early on, but didn't want to confirm it. I guess it is a bit of an awkward question sometimes, especially if you first met someone. Let alone on that. It's not the usual question you want to ask them, but I think they had a bit of
an inkling
moment.
In the past, with some of the conversations I've had with others, they've always talked about how location can be a bit of an issue, especially if they're from up north. But I suppose you living in London, going to university in London, it's kind of worked out for you. Would you agree with that?
No, absolutely. Like, location wise, I'd tie that to being the lucky side of all the hardships that I went through. London does have its difficulties. I'm not saying that doesn't. It is quite expensive. It can be tough. It is the city that makes you work hard. But I think my East London sort of identity actually is a part of my working class sort of identity in my upbringing. And I think that really pushed me to always sort of go through those barriers. I always did see the social mobility in London. You see it quite often, whether it's up or down. You do see it, and there's lots of opportunities. Are there enough these days? I wouldn't say not as much as I saw growing up, I must admit. But again, that's just the situation of the country. Currently, and I hope things will get better for everyone. But yeah, location-wise, I was quite lucky. And I didn't have to move out of London in any of those hardships. There was a few times where it was suggested, oh, like, we could put you in this hospital tomorrow. It's in Milton Keynes. I was like, no, absolutely not. As much as I'm sure Milton Keynes is lovely, I'm not going. I was like, I know I'm going to go to university in London. I already knew. I always had like a 5-year plan of, like, when I was a teenager. I was like, no, I'm going to have to come back to London, so I'm not going to leave it. But location-wise, I think I was quite lucky. I had my sort of always my people around me, and being always in East London as well, I was quite lucky. So your hostels were in East London. They have to be in some sort of vicinity of your college at the time, obviously when you're a minor. But that certainly, it was definitely a good thing on my behalf and sort of my history. Not to say London is easy. It is not. But if you know how to work it, it can.
One of the things I was going to ask, actually, because of what you do, you're dealing with like urban planning and looking at the surrounding areas. Like, one of the main things you always hear about in London is like gentrification and how that drives communities out from an area. And then it kind of loses that identity. Is that something you've come across, and is that something you'd agree with? Like, is gentrification a thing in London?
I think I've got a nuanced opinion on it. I think gentrification is obviously now has such a negative connotation for it. And I think that's because of the lack of innovation that was in the urban development projects across London and across the city and the wider country. It is, it's a tough one. I think it's one of those things where its heart is in the right place. The methodologies haven't kept up. The built environment is a very traditional industry, like education, like healthcare. Although healthcare is a lot more innovative now. They are practiced using very traditional processes, very linear processes. As in, this is the solution. This is how everyone's going to follow it. Boom, done. And yeah, the political social impacts change some of these processes around a little bit depending on who's in power, but generally it's done in one sort of linear process. And those were at times where it did work. Don't get me wrong, this once worked really well, but it's not changed. And times have changed, situations have changed, contexts have changed, people and demographics have changed. And sadly, gentrification became this thing where it's got a negative connotation and definition now because it not keeping up with the changes. That's how I see it. And it doesn't always have to mean a bad thing. Actually, other development projects do have positive impacts as much as they have negative ones, but it's actually making sure that the cons don't outweigh the pros, and actually being innovative with it. And community engagement strategies are one way. That's sort of like your social aspect, how to integrate it into the local environment and local communities and their spaces. Think about the local economies, the small businesses, the vulnerable people. However, on the flip side, I do see how it does have negative impacts as well. And you don't have one party doing all of it. So one might be doing a good one in the same area that's a bad one's happening. So then you've got mix of impacts. But generally, yes, it does raise prices of local places to the point where vulnerable groups and working class people can't afford, and they have to move out. And it's, in my opinion, it doesn't make sense at all, because actually when developers or local authorities want to develop a place, it's because of the identity that has currently or at the time, which was usually made by the communities, the working class communities that are there. So then slowly pushing them out loses that sense of identity. Like, if we take Walthamstow, for example, it is heavily gentrified at the moment, and it's like the new place to live and everyone's enjoying it. Now I want to move to Walthamstow. But what's funny, if you look at the marketing of most of these places, and I won't name any names, it is about what was there before. And it was like, but what was there before is no longer there because of the developments. Like, those communities have moved on because they feel like they have to leave because they can't afford it anymore. So, but it doesn't mean it has to be that way. If we actually introduce innovative ways and relook at things, change the processes a bit. In honesty, I'm up for any changes at the moment. I'm rather than the traditional linear one. Like, let's at least start somewhere. They might not always be amazing, but you have to start somewhere. It might get one, might be one step back to be forward, but there needs to be something that needs to change. But I think gentrification can be a really good thing if
it's done right.
Correct environmental strategies, the right social strategies, looking at the local economies. It just needs to fit in. They need to stop looking at a site as one isolated site and actually see how it connects with people, connects with the plants, with the ecologies, with the local economy, and take that on board. But in my side of things, obviously, I work on the side that, and I hope, obviously, it's the positive side, and we help make it more positive than it should, than the negative sides of it, on our projects. And I can definitely see that as well from people, and it's not something that I also see, but they also say in return at these engagements, they very much enjoy it. A lot of projects sometimes give up sort of some of the spaces for a very specific need for the local community, whether that's health hub, whether that's communal spaces, whether that's improving the urban public realm around the development site, so then the streets are nicer.
What kind of things?
You do see
what kind of things do the local community kind of say? What kind of common themes crop up?
I think commonly they want, at least in the current state of things, they want a third space. A third space, so it's not home, it's not your work, it's this third
It's
space where you
like the
can,
library, the local library. Is that kind of, yeah.
yeah, it counts as well. Local libraries, however, I think probably because of funding, obviously aren't as nice anymore. Sometimes a bit, well, not all of them. Some of them are quite lovely, I must admit, especially the new
Yeah.
ones. But some of them aren't as inviting. But then also libraries, there's always that sense where you have to be quiet or you have to watch out, like
Well,
lunch can get together.
I
Like,
suppose it comes back to is when you hear about governments cutting like youth centres, community halls, those kind of things that traditionally would have been a place where your community comes together because they don't
absolutely.
exist. I'm guessing this is what the community say. We need this kind of thing.
And I think the third space came about because they know they can't ask for a youth center, a library, a leisure center, all like separately. So almost having this third space is like the solution where you have it compact
It's like a pop-up
in
store
all one space,
of
everything, and it's like multifunctional and it's got a bit of everything for everyone. But actually, I think a part of that as well, in my perspective of it, is side of serendipity. So like, actually, you never know who you might meet socially. You never know who you might come across. Whether that's making friends, whether that's having a romantic encounter, whether that's just meeting a new stranger and actually being, that was never in the plan. It's this massive space that you can meet someone and actually get along with them. It's a space where it also then provides the amenities and facilities where you can hang out with them. And it's an interesting one. So I think that third space idea is one, definitely. And those third spaces being genuinely affordable, of course, or at least free or public. But off of that, affordability, I think that's the common theme that I've come across, and genuine affordability, whether that's all the social housing in those that development projects, they do require a certain percentage of social housing for it to go forward. Whether it's the amenities that come with it, so whether that's like a cafe that comes with it, making sure that cafe isn't £6 for a pastry, which isn't unheard of in London. So it is, as humorous as it can be for in context, it's not unheard of in London. So actually making it genuinely affordable. And I'm realizing people no longer just take affordable as a surface level word. It's the first question is, how are you going to make it affordable? Show me the numbers. Prove to me it's going to work, because everyone says affordable and it's not affordable. And those are the usual comments in the working class members of the communities. And it's absolutely valid. If they can't get into those places, what is the point of having them? If no one's going to use them, or if it's certain one groups using them, it excludes groups, in fact. And third space is affordability. Sustainability has become a funny one. I started a year ago, sustainability was obviously a big one. Environmental factors are always important. But now it seems to be expected. So it's almost like the comments on sustainability aren't mentioned anymore, not because they don't care. Surface level, if you look at data, you'd think they don't care about it. But actually, when you go into further details with them, they know it's done properly, and it will be done properly, and they will check on it. Doesn't mean that we're in check on it. But they almost expect lots of green spaces or vertical gardens or renewable energy sources or something. Like they expect it now. So it's no longer a trend, but I can see it's the first thing they inspect.
It's the unconscious part now.
Yeah. And it's pretty nice to have
it's
that
good.
now.
It's good it's got to that point where it's like, okay, it should be there.
It's an expectation. Which is a foundational pillar. But I think, genuine affordability and third spaces are those very two things at the moment that I'm seeing a lot. And obviously that gets influenced by, again, the social and political context of the country. It's sad because, like, I would love to say the environment doesn't get influenced by it, but it very much is influenced by the social political context of the country and the world. So yeah, that changes usually the trends a little bit, or at least has some influence. But I think those are the two key ones at the moment that I'm seeing a lot.
Yeah. Was there anything that you kind of thought, actually, this is quite important to mention?
I think on the topic of working class, there's so much that I would love to say, but I think really important things in my heart are the sense of communities. I can see over the years and growing up in London, there was always street parties. There was some sort of social cultural program in place. There was sort of business improvement districts. So there's like the business sort of community centers as well for the local businesses owned by working class people.
Yeah.
But I'm almost seeing like this divide now. Like I can see a lot of communities now being very cliquey or alienating within their own communities
insular.
on different and on different identity pillars as well. Like it used to be working class, so that then meant a mix of races and ages and sexualities.
So you've got your
Whereas
market
now
stalls, everyone's just integrating.
yeah, absolutely. And then now it's almost become the identifier is now a focus on whether it's race and ethnicity or sexuality, but then that sort of splits the working class sort of up. And I see that now in my sort of lived experience of London. But then when I do community engagement, I see that they all need the same thing.
Yeah.
And in fact, aiming for those third spaces or general affordability and holding your country or local authorities or developers, even private ones, accountable, you need to get together in numbers. And I think Keithling's point for that I'd love to just point out or highlight is I hope they come together a bit more again, like they did when I was younger, rather than everyone split up. That again maybe influences the social situation of the country and the world. But it definitely changed my mind a little. So I'm like, you all want the same thing. So come together.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're not a minority anymore. You're all the majority. Because there are powers and power in numbers, and it's not completely diminished, but I think I see it sort of going down at the moment. But also there is, I feel like over the years, a lack of social mobility programs and spaces for people like youth centers. Though I mean, almost all youth centers are gone at this point. There's still ones that are lingering about, thank God, but they're almost gone. And I just want to see more of it. I'm being hopeful that the working class will bring it together again, as they're always the one that keep it together in the first place and maintain it. But yeah, I think that's just like a general hope that I have and going forward. I want to see sort of continue them get back together. I'm just hoping it's just a small bit, but I think that's the key thing, because without that, I would have never been able to get out of the situation that I was in. And so that makes me think, if I was in that situation now, someone like
you'd want that, that support group.
I'd want that there for them. Absolutely. So that's the last thing that I could really highlight.
I think that's really important. It's like, because that's the thing, is like, if you have a divided nation, you get a lot of this hate, resent. It bleeds from that, doesn't it? It's like if you work together and work out your differences and figure stuff out together, you can only benefit from that. So that's a really good point to like kind of end on there. Before we go, was there any way that people could get in contact with you in case they wanted to know more about what kind of work you're doing and stuff like that?
Absolutely. So my LinkedIn under my name, Mert Yildiz, anyone can sort of contact me through there, and or Urban Symbiotics, that usually comes through to me as well. Both it's a great way to sort of be involved. I love having a chat with people anyway, grabbing a coffee, when we can to sort of discuss things, and if there's opportunities that I can help them with or participate in, more than happy to do it. It's all about giving back at the moment. Like that's my current thing. I'm always just about like, I just want to give back and do everything for everyone else now because they've done so much for me. So I just think they should just get in contact.
Cool. Yeah, no, that was really great conversation. It was good to find out more about the stuff that you do with your Urban Symbiotics and how you speak to local communities and how that feeds into the working class culture and stuff like that. So yeah, it was really interesting. It was great talking with you today.
No, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the series. Again, it's nice to have that representation actually go somewhere and hear other people's stories. So thank you.
Thanks again and take care. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Initial Step. If you resonate with the stories we share and have a similar background you'd like to talk about, we'd love to hear from you. Get in touch and maybe you'll be featured in an upcoming episode. And don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Be sure to check out our previous episodes for more inspiring stories. Until next time, we'll see you in the next one.